Hello, everyone. Mr. Lipchick here, and our discussion today is on the ancient kingdom of Israel. The Hebrews began as a nomadic people, but eventually established the kingdom of Israel. Abraham and Moses led the Hebrews to Canaan and to a new religion, Judaism. Judaism is based in the belief in a single God. It is a form of ethical monotheism, which means that God set down moral laws. It is a culture of law and learning. The fundamental beliefs of Judaism are contained within the Torah. The Torah contains rituals and practices, including daily prayers, Sabbath observances, and dietary rules. It also contains ethical laws, which require Jews to give to charity, show kindness to strangers, and avoid gossip. There are hundreds of rules, moral codes, and restrictions in the book of Leviticus. It also contains the Ten Commandments, which outline essential laws for how Jewish people should worship God and treat others. The Torah is a handwritten scroll that includes the text of the first 5 books of the Hebrew Bible. These books are Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. In Hebrew, the word Torah means to show the way, or to teach. The books that make up the Torah are traditionally believed to have been given by God to Moses. According to religious tradition, Moses was the lawgiver and prophet. Early in its history, Israel was a loose confederation of kingdoms. Pressure from their enemies, the Philistines, led to the need for a single ruler. The first ruler was Saul, a member of the tribe of Benjamin, one of the 12 tribes of Israel. David, a rival of Saul, became involved in a power struggle against him. David defeated the leader of the Philistines, Goliath, in battle. Saul plotted to kill David, but David eventually defeated his armies. Saul was killed in battle against the Philistines. And David followed Saul to become the king. King David began his life as a shepherd, declared to be the next king was declared to be the next king by the prophet Samuel. And after becoming king, his first act was to make Jerusalem the capital. He brought the Ark of the Covenant, a sacred relic containing the Ten Commandments, to Jerusalem. David was a powerful warrior. He was a poet believed to have written the book of Psalms. He had many wives, which was customary for the time. And he ruled for 40 years. Solomon became the next king. He expanded the kingdom and trade, and he made allies with nearby kingdoms, including Egypt and Phoenicia. Trade with them made Israel very rich. With the riches that came from this, he built a temple to God in Jerusalem. Complete archaeological survey of the temple has not been completed. The ground where the temple stood is now a Muslim holy site. The temple had 4 parts, each with increasing levels of sacredness. The public courtyard, or outermost area of the temple. The inner courtyard, the largest part, were rituals conducted by priests on an altar with a large ceremonial wash basin took place, an outer room with a lamp and other ritual objects, and the inner room known as the Holy of Holies, which was the most sacred location in Jerusalem. The Temple of Solomon's Holy of Holies contained the Ark of the Covenant. The high priest entered once a year on Yom Kippur to pray on behalf of all Israel. King Solomon died around 930 BCE. Only the southern part of the kingdom supported Rehoboam, Solomon's son, as successor. The northern part rebelled due to Solomon's heavy taxation and set up the kingdom of Judah. There were two Israelite kingdoms for 2 centuries. They were often at war with one another, and they fought one another and the other powers in the region as well. The Assyrian Empire was an enemy of the kingdom of Israel. The Assyrian Empire was an ancient power from northern Mesopotamia. For over a century, it was extending territory and gaining wealth by conquering other people. In 721 BCE, it conquered the kingdom of northern Israel. The Israelites were sold into slavery. It also conquered much of Judah. Judah became a very small territory around Jerusalem. The Jews went through a period called the Babylonian captivity. In 607 BCE, the Assyrians were defeated by the Neo-Babylonian Empire. The Neo-Babylonians were led by King Nebuchadrezzar II. Nebuchadrezzar defeated Assyria in 607 and continued to conquer and expand territory. Judah fought back. In 587 BCE, Judah was defeated and Jerusalem destroyed. The temple's treasures were stolen, and the temple building burned. Leading citizens and priests were taken as prisoners. Jewish people did not lose their culture during the Babylonian captivity. The Torah became a central focus of Jewish worship. Scholars created hand-copied scrolls of the Torah read aloud in Jewish temples. Rabbis, experts in Jewish teachings and law, became more important, keeping tradition alive. Cyrus, the king of Persia, conquered Babylon in 539 BCE, and he allowed the Jewish people to return to Judah. The Jewish people rebuilt the temple, and it became known as the Second Temple. In sum, the history of Judaism is intricately linked to the Kingdom of Israel. The Jewish people would experience many difficult trials throughout history, experiencing periods of exile and destruction of the Kingdom of Israel. They persevered, however, documenting and preserving their religious teachings. And Israel was eventually reestablished as a kingdom and later as a modern state. This concludes our discussion. Thank you for attending, and I look forward to speaking with you soon. Have a great day.